Welcome, everybody, back to the Modern Pipeliner podcast, where we have IT and energy professional interviews of key players. And today's guest is Mr. Rich Bontrager of his media broadcasting company, which is called
Rock the Stage Media. Close.
Rock the Stage Media. and he's a great speaker and great in broadcasting. And anybody that's listening, you got to go follow this guy, and he'll give you some great tips. We're going to get into this today, talking to him about where he came from and kind of how he got to here.
Well, thanks, Jim, for having me on. This has been great. And I love doing these discussions, and origin stories are real popular with everybody. And for me, getting into broadcasting and media, background was about 8-10 years old. I grew up in Indiana, big sports fan in Indiana. But I was listening to Harry Carey and Cubs baseball. For those of you that remember Harry Carey, one of the best announcers ever, big personality. But as a kid, I listened to the transistor radio in my bed, and he could describe the bats, the smell of popcorn, the way the grass moved, the way the infield shifted. He could describe anything to let me know I was there in the theater of my mind.
Yeah.
And then my mom and dad would come up and steal the radio out of my bed. Somebody go to bed. But I literally fell in love and thinking, I want to do that. I want to be able to learn to paint the picture and communicate. And then I got older, and then it was Johnny Carson and Jay Leno, and watching them, those shows of interviews and discussions. And I thought, yeah, that's really what I want to do.
Yeah.
And part of the story is I have a lifelong stutter. So everyone said, no. And I had to overcome the stutter,
right?
Learn my own tricks. There's no formal training. There's no cure for stuttering. And now I have a 36-year broadcast career, coaching, leading, hosting thousands of shows. And I love what I get to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And overcoming these things, it's got to give you kind of like a superpower for helping others.
Oh, yeah. It totally plays into that, because I know what it's like to have the obstacles. Yeah. Part of my public speaking has been defying the odds. Besides speaking about media, there's so many different ways that people are stuck with a barrier they need to overcome. So I love cheering on those that want to aspire but don't know how to get over the hurdle.
Yeah.
And I've got a microphone on the stage to do it for business owners, for technology people, for school teachers. I love to take their situation and help them find a way around it.
That's perfect. Such a helpful little service there. Now, when did you become passionate about this focus in broadcasting? Was it way back when?
It was way back in those early days. My mom and dad tell the story, and I completely forgot about this.
Yeah.
So that's why we do this. Ago, as they've been sitting around, we're talking, she goes, "Remember when you were a kid? And I used to talk to my army men, my superhero action figures, and line them up into my basin. And I would do talk shows and speeches to my action heroes."
Perfect.
Little did I know how much that would play into my future of wanting to do this. And now we go through a pandemic.
Yeah.
And we've all have empty rooms talking through Zoom or Google Meets or whatever we're on. Right. And we're in empty rooms trying to sound really cool. I was doing that as a kid.
Yeah.
And then I got into broadcast school, and I found out I had that imagination of being in a studio by myself and making it sound like I'm having a blast.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it actually inflamed it more and more when I got more comfortable with that skill of sounding like I'm with people in a room by myself. So it sounds like I'm talking to you, and you feel like you're a part of my party.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that's what these are. It's a stage, it's a party, and we have these rooms to invite people and come play in and have a good time and share their stories. It's really a fun thing.
Well, and for any industry, this is your new stage. That's what I coach now. That this is your stage. It's not a Zoom box, it's TV.
Yeah.
It's a media platform. And people are really trying to wrap their head around, but I have a business. But you have a stage, but I have a business. No, your business is your stage now. It's one and the same. And the more people embrace that, then you have a podcast or streaming TV show. Then you have something that you can use as a brand marketing tool You now have media access like never before because
Yeah.
this is your stage.
Yeah. Yeah. It's genius. Now, when you first started in this, what is something that was more challenging than you had expected?
Well, that goes back to my stuttering. So through the broadcast journey, um, we all learn different skills from camera production to writing to producing, whatever.
Right.
But there's a part of you all have to learn how to read the teleprompter, and you all have to learn how to do the hard news story. And during that part of my training, especially, my college professor was like, no one's going to hire you because you have a great voice, but you have to do this because my eyes don't work. My eyes do this. So I have to read the teleprompter like Data from Star Trek, and people can read. See, I'm reading the teleprompter like a typewriter. And they said, plus your stutter, and you get worse when you read a story about a tragedy, a car wreck, a shooting, that your emotions come to service because I'm a very passionate, emotional person. So the combination of all that was a train wreck, a complete train wreck. And they literally stole me. He said, you have a great voice, but no one's going to hire you.
Aren't these professors great? I had a public speaking. I saved it for last because I had so much anxiety. I wound up, this lady failed me, and I had like an anxiety problem at that time. And she was like, it was a public speaking. I was like, man, I'm never going to be able to speak. I thought I wanted to maybe do that at some point when I break through that layer. She was just like, no.
Well, I'm actually still in touch with this professor. He now jokes and he now laughs. He goes, I was so wrong.
Exactly.
You were so good at this. The change of that was I had the opportunity to do some sports play-by-play in college. That was the first time, and I was waiting. I was waiting for the chance to do a football, basketball game. Put on the headsets, got there, and it's all ad-libbed. It's all just in the moment. And when I found that, it was like the news desk is gone.
Yeah.
I will spin records, DJ, do what I need to do, but I need to get behind the sports microphone. And then it opened up to talk shows and sports interviews and coaches show. And the more I got into that free flowing spirit of let's just have a talk.
Yeah.
I can tell you about the game. I can do what Harry Carey did. I can tell you how the crowd feels and what's going on. When I got to that point, it was like lighting a fire that was already burning, just exploding.
Perfect. I love it. Now, what good lessons have you learned from your industry?
More and more, especially from what we've gone through the last several years, is media is currency. We've always known this power of media, but we haven't had the funds, the ability to do it because it's been beyond our reach.
Right.
And even when I was doing it for iHeartRadio and other networks and things, it was like I would want to leverage it, but the price was prohibitive.
Yeah.
And people have no knowledge. They don't understand what we do and how we do. They don't know how the magic works.
Right.
They don't know what this takes. And I was blown away by that. I did not understand that people just don't understand what I know about doing what I do. Well, now that we all do have this access, every company, small business, mom and pop business, every college student has this. It's like we have access, leverage it, use it. And people are still afraid. They don't know what it's going to do, how much it's going to cost. They don't have the skill set. So a lot of what I've learned is I can now teach this and give this back. And I can remove the fear and the anxiety. Like you said, with public speaking.
Yeah.
I use a coach, live stage public speaking. The fear level is enormous.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a microphone and there's a crowd out there. Can I go home now? Because the number one fear in all the world is public speaking. It's worse than the fear of death. What happened now is we've added a camera in front of everybody in the world.
Yeah.
So we're not just speaking, we're on TV through the roof. So I'm like, I can help you with the anxieties, the fears, the doubts, and it's fun to see people just relax.
Yeah.
So, okay, I shook that off. It didn't kill me when the green light went on.
Yeah. 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 Until you experience it, you think it's almost unobtainable. And you really got to shove yourself through the door kind of deal.
Well, it's part of the vulnerability. It's part of the risk.
Yeah.
And in any business, I mean, I've launched businesses. I've been a sole entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Whether you're talking the C-suite, which I've been in, or you're talking to your small business or your leadership team, there's a risk every time you stand up and speak and lead.
Right.
For some reason, we have turned this into a bigger deal than the same thing.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw something funny the other day, like a kid going up in front of bleachers, and he's like, I'm just going to walk in this place. I'm going to give this speech, and I'm going to show you guys that none of this really matters at all. And I'm going to leave here and it's all going to be okay. And I was just like, yeah, I mean, that's perfect analogy to just, these other people in the bleachers, they're going to forget about it. They might remember it for a little while, but it's not as big of a deal as everybody wants to make it, right?
Well, and probably one of the other things that I've learned through the whole journey because of my stutter, I was afraid. I wanted to act. I tried to act. I became stage production. I was in theater, but not on stage as much. I wish I would have started earlier. And that's one of the messages I try to tell people. If you have the fears, the anxiety, whether it's a stutter or a disability or something, but you have this burning dream, start earlier than you think you need to. You're never going to be perfect. You're never going to have all of it all together. But if you start now, you'll learn more, even with the embarrassment, even with the face plants. You don't know how bad my early play-by-play and talk shows were. I saw the original material. I have to remember where I came from. But if you don't start, you'll never start. So one of the life lessons is start now.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've heard, business speakers speak on that. And that's kind of what gave me hey, maybe I ought to jump and go start these businesses now, because if I don't, like, what am I waiting around for? And will I ever do it? And so I just did, 5 years ago, and here we are. But you got to start now, start yesterday type of deal.
We are our own worst enemies. I found out years later, I had people like, they saw the imagination, they saw the playful, they saw the Energizer Bunny of trigger before there even was a trigger. And when I finally got into this, they came back and said, this is exactly what we've always thought. You have the it factor. And so it was great to hear it, but I didn't hear it back when they were trying to tell me.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, what coworkers were some of the greatest contributors to your character?
Coworkers, the number one was a girlfriend.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Because of that whole stutter thing I went through, and because of my dreams and aspirations, the hardest thing is to introduce yourself with a stutter, because you get nervous and everything else. And especially with a girl, you want to look cool, right? We don't want to look like idiots. So we were already dating. And at one point I was trying to ask her out for a big special night, and the tongue was getting tied. I was getting nervous. It just wouldn't come out. And I tried several times and backed out of it. She finally just started making fun of me. And she's the only person previous to that that's ever been able to make fun of me. And finally she goes, just relax. I know you want to ask me out.
Yeah.
I'm going to say yes.
Yeah.
So what are you worried about? Just be you. And it was like, boom, mic drop.
Yeah.
I learned so much in that one moment of just being me, and I'm okay. So that was a huge, huge influence in that. Growing up, I had a pastor that always believed in me, always believed in me.
Yeah.
My first business endeavors, where I began to step out and lead out, a lot of them says, Rich, you do have entrepreneurial, you do have visionary skills. I never thought of myself as a visionary. I always thought other people were visionaries. And so as they began to say this, and they say, try this, lead this, take on this project, it was like, again, you're watering that plant that began to go. And I can remember several of them saying, you don't have formal training, but you're far better than anybody I got.
Wow.
And when they began to speak of that natural ability and that skills, and they would move me into a position. And they also taught me to admit that I was not the fit, or I was not right, I was not on. It was like, they gave me the freedom to try, but the freedom to fail or stop myself from having a train wreck. I had one particular boss that we were working together, and he was trying to keep me in the boat as long as he could. And finally just say, look, tell me how you really feel. is this really you? Are you feeling it? And I finally said, I'm dying here. I'm trying my hardest. And he said, that's all I need to know. Let's move you over here because you don't need to have that anxiety. You don't need to have that friction for
Yeah.
what I need you to do. Those are some of the early influences that built my leadership model, my ability to step into the vision, be a dreamer, be okay with the guy in the room that leads you with vision, not with facts.
Yeah.
And it was really exciting to have that through my formative 16 to 25-year-old age.
Yeah. 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 It's so important in life to have people that believe in you. And second to that is love. That's a couple of those instances you speak on, that was love. That girl having the guts to tell you that. That love is what empowers us, right? I mean, just having someone love us no matter what our fault is.
Well, and being willing to receive that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, she also taught me to laugh at myself.
Yeah.
She told me to say it's okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a lot of life lessons, but
Forgiveness. Yeah.
forgiveness is a
Yeah.
huge part of it. And again, that came out of my church upbringing, my family upbringing, not beating yourself. One of the biggest things in leadership and companies, and we beat ourselves up.
Right.
Today I just did a 2 p.m. live. I do a live streaming show, and I went back and I talked about strength finders. The entire idea of strength finders is we spent so much time to raise up the weak area, the lesser developed or natural skills and abilities that we're given. I did that. Many of us have done it as leaders. The book then says you have these amazing other areas, but the more that you fight the weak, your strengths are dropping down, but you're not letting them shine.
Right.
The book completely unlocked something in my early 30s. When I read that book, took the test, it was like, allow yourself to recognize where you're at with those other areas, but this is where you need to soar and fly. And again, it opened me up to, I can really fully embrace this.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
still aware of my foibles and how I blow it, but I need to live here for my own sake and for what I need to give back to the world, to the people. And again, people are fighting too hard with that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
not embracing their superpower, their giftedness, whatever you want to put on that.
Yeah, I agree. That's a great way to put it. Now, what was your worst and best project? I love this question.
Oh, my worst and best. So my best project was I planted a church. I was in church ministry, planted a church, started with my family of 5 and one other person, and we grew it to multiple services, created our own safe and sober coffee outreach center to impact the city. That's really the best endeavor, vision, leadership thing I've ever walked through.
Wow.
And I got to work with different companies, different people, because it was so revolutionary, different, that the city took notice.
Yeah.
The mayor took notice. I met with the mayor numerous times to talk about initiative and plans, thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
One of the worst ones, boy, I gotta think back to one of my worst. I've had many. I've tried different startup business and stuff, and probably one of the worst ones was I stayed in the business side of it too long. I am not a businessman. I'm a visionary creator.
Yeah.
I have enough of that skill set to organize the administrative skills of do this, do that, do this.
Yeah.
I've learned that I stayed in too long on one particular project and I screwed up my own project.
Yeah.
Because I'm not the administrative guy. I didn't know what I was doing enough.
Yeah.
And the more I kept fighting to hold on that administrative role instead of putting in someone else in charge and putting someone else in charge, the more I did it, the more it just suffering because I tried to do it all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the best thing I've learned about right people, right place, and put them on the right seat on the bus for your businesses, for your teams, for your organization. I mean, again, I'm not a technology buff. My older brother is smart. Technology is his area. But I did learn early on, you don't want me wiring something up. You don't want me building this thing either.
Yeah.
I can help you vision and design it, but don't get me a soldering iron, or don't give me something in the tech industry.
Yeah.
That's a big part of this process of success and failure, is
Yeah.
learning what to step into and learning what not to step into.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, I preach the right candidate for our recruitment, get you the right candidate,
Yeah.
the right atmosphere, the right guy, the right experience, skills. And
Well, and there was another book, Necessary Endings. So you have the right skills, the right places, and then you have organizations that you work with where, God bless them, great people. They work their hearts off. They will be there 9 to 5 to do it, but they struggle, and they actually become the lid on the company.
yeah.
The Necessary Endings book describes the fact is you move them out of that to try to find where they fit. And if you cannot find it, the best thing you can do with them is to gently say, I love you, but you got to go.
Yeah.
For the sake of everybody else and for you, I am giving you paid time leave. Go look, fade out, but go find that things you love. I can tell you don't love this.
Yeah.
And it's killing us. That necessary ending conversation, instead of just firing,
Yeah.
have the conversation for everyone's success. And again, it was one of those revolutionary ideas of like, that's good leadership.
Yeah. It's so hard to do in business, and I applaud the people with strength to do it, That's why I always enjoy talking to other founders and creators and especially doing these shows. Now, what's something about your industry that surprised you in recent years?
I learned this early on, but it's come back more and more in the broadcast media stage, even the public speaking stage. But it's a very small family. You think of all the TV channels, radio channels, streaming content out there, and you would think that nobody knows anybody because they're just in their own bubble. The fact is, we're very connected. We know each other. We know our projects. We know what's going on. We know what we can do and what not we're doing. We know when someone jumps from one station to another station. And it's been interesting to see that play out through pandemic and people launching their own businesses now. The advent of more of the recorded content, even on radio station. It's not your live local jock. It's not it's all pre-canned, pre-done satellite broadcast, but you still know other people and what they're doing in this new industry that we're in.
Yeah.
That's comforting because you can still connect. You can still work with people and know what they're doing. It's scary because everyone knows everyone else's business, like living in a small town. It really is. You have to get comfortable with knowing that everyone knows who you are, what you do, and if it's good, bad, or ugly.
Yeah. Yeah. I was recently approached for some little TV shows and things, and I'm like, wow, okay, I just got into this doing some podcasts and interviewing cool people like yourself, and now I'm on TV,
and that's how it all begins. And then again, the thing is going back to public speaking. Are you going to step off and give it a try? Are you going to recoil? But again, once you get into that, it's amazing how on other people's radars you get to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. It's what I'm working up to here. Now, what is your vision for broadcasting in the future? And what's the coolest invention that you've seen recently?
So I tell people the virtual stage, as I now call it, there's a new virtual platform, is ever expanding. Everyone jumped on Zoom. Zoom exploded with the highest sales and marketing rate for it. It exploded. Since then, other platforms have come on now. This is a new form of media, and it's never going away. Especially right now, as we record this, there's the writer's strike in Hollywood, the actor's strike is pending, and the director's strike is right behind. We've seen the major networks, and we've seen the breakup of the networks. We've seen streaming content platforms grow and grow. And they're already disintegrating and rebundling and coming up with different ways because it's the media that we grew up with is gone.
Yeah.
This is now the new media, the new world. So for me, I envision a new Tonight Show, a new Jay Leno show. I envision that this will become the new network of the world. I can interview globally now. I can be speaking on a stage virtually anywhere. There's no bad TSA. There's no bad hotel food.
Yeah.
There's no,
Yeah.
not missing my family. And I can be in Australia, Canada, Europe, all in the same day and be in my own bed.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a revolutionary landscape change. And I can still treat it like professional media. I can still show up,
Yeah.
do the job, and stream it out. Now, one of the biggest tools I use now is called Restream. There's other platforms like it. But why I love Restream is, and I use it every day. I'll be using it in a couple hours for my own show again tonight. Restream allows me to do one live event, multiple platforms at once, all at the same time. If you come onto my show and I give you the link, Tim, you can grab that link and then you add in some of your social links. So I go from my 5 to your 3. We're up to 8 different channels.
Yeah.
If we have another guest, they can add 2 or 3. It multiplies
Wow.
and multiplies where my one little show will go and land. That's a game changer.
Yeah.
Because now I'm building my own CBS, my own NBC network every single day.
Yeah.
And then it's the replay of the repurpose of the content that, again, this works for business leaders. You need to have a podcast. You need to have an interview show. You can highlight your employees. You can talk about your new tech projects. You can talk about the things you're selling, marketing, the trade shows you go to. You can literally create your own media network. I coach this. I help people do this, but you can now do this, and it's independently owned and operated. And here's the other good thing. There's no censorship. There is no FCC regulations on what we do right now. It's free range.
Yeah.
This is for you to step on your stage and say, and I think this is going to explode.
Yeah. 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 I think you're right in line there. I loved how you chalk it all up there. It's perfect. What is something positive about you that most in your network may not know? Something positive outside of work that
positive about you. Okay. I don't know if it's positive, but it's by my creative nature. I am a comic book geek.
Okay.
Always have been a comic book, science fiction, Star Trek, especially. Aspiring script writer, director. Those are all things that people would probably never know about me, but it comes out of that creative nature. I love the power of story.
Yeah.
And one of the things, going back to my stutter, my grandmother was one of the first ones to help me overcome the stutter, because the perception is you don't read well, you don't communicate well, all those things. I was an avid reader, Hardy Boys all the time. I read them like junk. She took my comic books, and I went to her home, and she would say, read the comics and do the voices. So I became a character.
Yeah.
As I read Batman, Superman, Scooby, Shaggy, and she would let me play the roles out. And my reading, my fluency, my confidence, my voice began to come alive. And that's all goes into my creative nature that I've always known I've had, but she helped to unleash it. So a lot of people don't know that's why I'm so passionate, but those hobbies and those things also fuel what I do.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I had some comics way back when. I think they're still in the attic or something around here. You might like to get your hands on them.
Yeah, send them my way. Send them here.
As we kind of wrap up here, do you have an upcoming networking event, a book, product, invention, services that we can help promote to the audience?
Yeah. So one of the things, I do have a weekly show called How to Rock the Stage. Just so happens tonight, as we record this, I'm going to interview a film director. And Sergio directed The Cuban, which was an internationally acclaimed film featuring Lou Gossett Jr., one of my all-time favorite actors. Tonight, I get to have him on the show. That's a weekly live show. You can catch it. It's streaming on multiple platforms, on Facebook, LinkedIn. You can always plug into that. But some of my coaching things that I do coach media skills. I help you do exactly what you're doing here. I help you, Tim, others learn how to be on camera, get the persona. I've got coaching programs. I've got free consultations. Because people want to do exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
But they don't know how to do it. And it goes back to that fear, the comfortability. So I literally have coaching. I just did a whole section just on YouTube alone. training people on how to leverage YouTube, because you're recording content, but what do? How do you promote it? How do you make your YouTube channel look compelling?
Yeah.
Instead of a jumbled up mess.
Yeah.
Those are some of the systems and programs I have in hand. You can go to therockstagemedia.com, find some of those, easily contact me. But I love to help people shine on camera, shine on stage, to elevate their brand authority.
Perfect. Perfect. Now, where can everybody, what's the best way for the audience to get in contact with you? Would it be LinkedIn, or do you have other social medias, or what's the best?
LinkedIn is the number one place. When I get up, it's the first thing on, besides the coffee pot, and it's the last thing going off at night.
Yeah.
So LinkedIn, Rich Trigger Bontrager. There's only one of me. If you Google me, again, you will find a lot of information. Find me anywhere, or just email me, rich@richbontrager.net. rich@richbontrager.net. I take all my own email. That's one of my brand promises. I don't have anyone from my team or anyone else filter them. I want you to have direct access to me so I can better serve you and help you.
Perfect. Perfect. Now, that kind of concludes the show. So glad to have you. And I can't wait to network with you in the future, and anything that I can do to help you. Never cease to reach out.
Thanks, Sim. Thanks for having me. It's been fantastic.
Thank you.
Third party people production.